What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Truth with Walter Berry podcast. I am your host, Shea Berry, and I have the privilege of also hosting this podcast with Walter Berry, the one and only NBA basketball legend. Dad, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about your early beginnings with basketball. What was you walking down the street and you picked it up, or?
No, just went to the playgrounds, and I used to watch all the kids play. And it was something I wanted to do. You
brought to my attention Riverside. What is Riverside Church? What was it? It's now called Riverside Hawks, but just tell me about Riverside.
Riverside was something kids went to go play basketball at this church. If you were good enough, you can earn this Riverside jacket, which was something special because if you was walking around with the Riverside Church jacket on, they knew you were the man.
Mm-hmm. And before you even got to Riverside, how did you even find basketball?
Well, it all started in a neighborhood. Growing up as a kid, I used to play basketball on a garbage can with a guy by the name of John Fletcher. Mm-hmm. And he was a legend already in his time.
So he was older than you. How old were you?
He was probably a year or two older than me. But
okay.
John Fletcher was just playing since he was a kid, since he was 4 or 5 years old. And
mm-hmm. How old were you at this point?
I was probably like 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. So you said y'all was in a neighborhood, so y'all would go to parks. Where would y'all go? Where was y'all shooting?
We would start on the garbage cans, and then we would make our way to the parks.
So you would shoot basketball into a garbage can?
In a garbage can, and you develop your aim from a garbage can, believe it or not.
Oh.
But that's all we had then. We were really poor.
School of hard knocks, right?
School of hard knocks, baby.
So then you, from the garbage cans, you ended up on Riverside. Can you talk to me about how you even found out what Riverside was? What made you try out? Did somebody come find you and say, you should take basketball seriously? How did that happen?
Well, all the kids was going to try out. And it was word around the block that, hey, I'm going to try out for Riverside. You think you're going to come try out? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come too and try out and see if I can make this team.
Mm-hmm. So you're at tryouts. What was the tryout process like? Do you remember?
It's like any kind of basketball tryouts. If you're good enough, you make it. If you're not good enough, you don't make it.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned how the coach, Mr. Lorch is his name, correct?
Yes, Mr. Lorch, Mr. Ernie Lorch.
Yeah, how he took a liking to you when you was at the tryouts, but somehow you almost didn't make the team.
Yes, I almost got cut. The coach, Eggman, that was coaching with Riverside, had me on the cut side. And Mr. Lorch stepped out for about an hour and came back and saw me on the cut side and was like, what is Berry doing on the cut side? Go ahead and get back on the side that you're going to make this team. And I walked back over there slowly. Eggman looked at me with looks to kill.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, did you feel like with basketball, you really had something to prove?
At that time, I had something to prove to the world because I really wanted to play basketball.
How did you start performing well early on as soon as you got on the team?
It was a slow process for me, and I kept getting better as I go.
Mm-hmm. And Riverside, it was well known. I'm looking at this article with the NY Daily News, and it talked about some of the players that had played on that team. I mean, you talk about people such as Kenny Anderson, you have Lamar Odom, Stephen Marbury, some of the greatest basketball players that are known today have graced Riverside. How did it feel for you to kind of be a part of I know you're like a little bit older than some of those players, but you, Chris Mullin, Mark Jackson, players that were also your teammates. Do you feel like you built Riverside?
Yes, we collectively as a whole built Riverside. The Kenny Smiths, Chris Mullin, like you said, the Mark Jacksons, and these were names
Ron Artest,
yeah. Bruce Dalrymple, Ernie Myers. These guys were stars in their own light.
And we briefly touched on your coach, but there have been some allegations that have came out. But I've known that you've talked about him as being more like a father figure to you. And it's unfortunate how a lot of times we see people like Bill Cosby or we see people like R. Kelly, and we kind of hear things over the years, but we don't take it seriously until all of these allegations seem to hit the fan. How would you describe your coach, Mr. Lorch?
I didn't see him as that, what people allegedly been saying about him. Mm-hmm. Because he was like a father figure to me. right after we had that conversation, I started having problems because I was moving from house to house. My parents had a hard way to go at this time. My father was in and out of my life, and he stepped in like a father figure for me.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of these allegations, I know we can't speak on it too much because a lot of it is still unsolved. A lot of it is still going on. But do you feel like this kind of tarnishes the legacy that Riverside built?
I won't say tarnish the legacy. I would say more or less it puts a black eye on Riverside Church because this coach, Ernie Lorch, helped a lot of people in our time and in our generation around that time.
Yeah. So what did Riverside mean to New York when you had gotten into the team?
Riverside put us guys that you name on a plateau to create who we was as a basketball player. And it's a whole lot of great players came out of Riverside Church. Some of the names you named, the Kenny Smiths, the Nate Tiny Archibald, Lamar Odom, the list goes on. And we had great players.
Yeah. They actually say to play for Riverside, it was the equivalent of the ghetto NBA is what they called it. So, you know, it speaks of where the neighborhood was. It was the Bronx. It was the hood. How was it like to become a neighborhood hero in a sense as you began to get good in the game of basketball?
It was a great thing because everybody recognized the Riverside Church jackets we had. If you had a Riverside Church jacket, you was the man.
Oh, really?
For sure.
But even though Riverside had its thing going on, y'all did have a rivalry known as, what was it, the Gauchos?
Yes, the Gauchos. They were our rivalry team, and
would you consider them just as good, just as competitive as you all?
They was just as good. They had great players on that team also. I mean, Pearl Washington off the top of my head, who really, really was great in these times.
And what was it like back then going from just kind of be a neighborhood skinny kid to somebody that started to actually impact, you know, the neighborhood? You know, sports brings people together. You know, you actually built a fan base in your own right at such a young age. How did it feel for you, you know, with the conditions that you had at home? You know, it wasn't the easiest circumstances for you to actually have something like basketball to lean on and realize that, you know, you meant something to a lot of people, even as a kid.
Basketball helped me in a lot of ways, especially playing in the summertime, because a lot of guys would get teams. And I'm going to say most of the drug dealers, most of the drug guys who got teams and put us on their team, and they were guys who always looked out for us.
Yeah. And
took care of us. We didn't have nothing to worry about in the hood no more because these guys had our back and we played on their team.
That's really dope. So I know even back then you hadn't had your growth spurt yet when you were still playing for Riverside, did you? You was like in middle school, huh?
Yes, I was in middle school. I had the growth spurt. One summer, I was about 15 years old. I think I grew like 4 inches over the summer. And my body was aching. My knees were aching. It was a lot of pain.
And my knees hurt too. Them jeans passed down. I'm 22, feeling 72 with my knees. So I can understand. As you transitioned into high school, I know that, you know, we just want to briefly touch on it because we could have a whole episode just about, you know, you going through high school. But how do you feel that Riverside prepares you as a kid to just kind of put basketball in the mind as something that you realize that in high school, if you took it seriously as you were taking it back when you was just kind of playing for fun, that it would lead to college, that it would lead to the NBA, that it would lead to the EuroLeague and the opportunity to travel the world and make a living off of your dream. Did you understand that as a kid, that what could happen?
I didn't understand that. I just played because I ended up loving the sport of basketball and just being around my friends, because that's what everybody did, play basketball. And I couldn't imagine in a million years that what happened to me happened to me, because a lot of guys couldn't make the pros. A lot of guys that I played with couldn't even get into college.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was one of the blessed ones.
And did you feel sometimes, was it always love in your community, or did you feel like as you got good that some people started to look at you, you know, to hate on you?
It's going to be hate hate in anything you do. You got your haters in anything you do in the world. So especially when you're doing something positive. So I just had to look forward, kept my head up, and kept working hard.
Yeah. So that just, congratulations on all your all your many accomplishments that you have had, even starting out in the game of basketball. And we kind of, we talked about how even the Super Bowl recently, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers. We talked about how there's a black quarterback on their team who's only 23 years old. Born September 17th, 1995, is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs and won the Super Bowl. Could you even, Dad, just speak on what it's like to be a kid with a dream and to be able to kind of accomplish things such like this? Can you relate to what's probably going on in his head right now?
He's probably the blessed young guy in the world at this moment because winning a Super Bowl, being a quarterback, I'm sure he thought about this many a nights when he decided to get on this stage.
Yeah.
And it was a big stage and he came through.
Yeah.
And you got to have God too in your life. And I'm sure he's a godly man. I'm sure he worked hard to get where he at.
Yeah.
And he's blessed.
Yeah, and we talked about there's another player on the team who is from Miami and used to work at the stadium, in high school, just cleaning it up, doing the tickets, the little jobs here and there that you get just going through high school or just, having a regular job, things like that. But he always had a dream of playing on the same stage, as you would say. He worked at Hard Rock Stadium, and one day he dreamed of actually getting out there on the field. I don't know if he ever imagined he would win the Super Bowl at the same place he used to work at, making probably minimum wage. But you kind of said so yourself. You used to work as security for St. John's, right?
Yes, I worked security at St. John's over the summer. And
did you believe in like the idea of manifesting something because you were there so much? Did you know that you would, in that same arena, you would become Walter Berry and have a jersey hanging up?
I knew that's what I wanted. I knew that was my goal. I knew that when I was working security, I told them to put me to watch the gym because I used to be there dreaming. I would just walk in that gym and just picture me in my mind that one day I was going to be on this court doing great things.
Yeah.
And that dream came true.
That's dope. So yeah, just the power of dreaming it's an incredible thing. The Super Bowl was really dope. J-Lo's from the Bronx.
Yes,
Jennifer Lopez, she went from the Bronx to the Super Bowl too. Jenny from the Block. She went from Jenny from the Block to Jenny at the Super Bowl.
They put on a great show. And, a lot of people would love to have watched this Super Bowl because it was a great Super Bowl. Jennifer Lopez from New York, from the Bronx, where I'm from. I mean, it was incredible.
It's just a great look for everybody out there who comes from the hardest of conditions but can still find a way to make it out and make their dreams come true. So shout out to everybody chasing a dream.
And you got to dream. And you got to have God. You got to put God first place.
Of course.
With God and dream, anything in this world is possible.
Definitely.
And be positive and don't let nobody tell you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because I've had that on my way up. A lot of people was like, you can't make the NBA. You too skinny. You're not good enough. You don't shoot well enough. You can't jump high enough. And
but they probably talked about you being left-handed, right?
They talked about the left hand, but the left hand was dangerous, even at a young age.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, D-Rob, was telling me one day, man, all they talk about is that left hand. And that left hand is very dangerous and people don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And I was a little unorthodox at the time too. So it was unstoppable and people just didn't know how to deal with it.
It was something new. You kind of put not even just, in the streets of New York, but in the NBA in general. Even Stephen A. Smith recently made a comment about you and your left-handed ability. So you was kind of a trailblazer in your own right just when it came to shooting a basketball. So, Dad, congratulations to you on that. We just want to give you your flowers while you're still here to smell them. So shout out to you and everything that you've accomplished and put into the sport of basketball. Yeah. So that was our little quick Super Bowl recap for you all. I know next week Power is having its series finale. Dad, you ready to find out who shot goes?
I'm ready to find out. This show is one of the best shows that's been on TV in a long time.
Yeah, 50 Cent did his thing with this one.
Yes, he's been doing great things.
So that's basically it. We'll definitely get a little bit more into who shot goes. I have a theory of who it could be. I think it's either Tariq and Tasha's gonna cover up for him. What you think, Dad?
I'm not sure, but I'm waiting for the results.
Yeah. Super dope show. Sad to see it go, but I heard there's actually gonna be a sequel coming. I think it's called Power Playbook 2, and it might be starring Tommy. Dad, you like Tommy on the show, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
He's one of the people that you want to watch on Power because he's incredible with his role as an actor.
Yeah, his acting skills are super dope. So before we get out of here, I just want to tell you guys to follow us. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Sheaberry, TheSheaberry. You can also follow Walter at WB The Truth on Twitter, and his Instagram is Walter Berry The Truth. So make sure you keep up with us, like, comment, subscribe to our podcast. As well, I also have a online boutique. It's specific for women. You can shop cute accessories. We have wallets, we have jewelry on there, we have lashes on there. My website is shopluxuriant.com. It's the perfect online shopping center for like that girl boss who just wants a little bit of cute pieces at an affordable price. Additionally, we also have an investment venture here in Atlanta, Georgia called Salon Mykonos. Dad, do you want to unpack that real quick?
Yes, it's a beauty salon, and we specialize in natural hair, weaves, wigs, and also I'm still looking for stylists of that. Somebody know how to do hair.
Yeah, you gotta be good.
Nails, eyelashes. I have all these stations available.
Yes, we have booths available. So please contact us for more information. And that's all for today. Dad, you ready to get out of here?
Peace.